Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Learning with Jelly. Today, we're on day 17 of our 30-day SQL challenge, where we're going to practice information that we discussed in day 14 as well as day 15. So, our agenda for today is we're going to practice joins. A lot of you have had some difficulties with day 14 and day 15. I have received that feedback. And today we are going to do just practice problems to get you more equipped to performing joins in SQL. So, for those who are new to the challenge, welcome. We're so happy to have you. The goal is to work on SQL, preferably for 30 days straight, to learn beginner to intermediate SQL skills that you can apply to projects and thus land an entry level data role. There are two QR codes on the screen. The topic list is going to have a list of topics and supplemental resources. Please check that out. I do put links to other practice materials. And then on the right hand side is the Facebook group where you can ask us questions, help troubleshoot your code, give feedback, and more. Please, please, please try to troubleshoot the code on your own. You cannot go to your boss when you're on the job and ask them, what's wrong with this code? What's wrong with this code? That is your job. So please empower yourself by Googling and actually trying to troubleshoot first. And then feel free to ask the group. We are always here to help. So I am going to give us a scenario, a question, give us questions to think about, and then we're going to hop into SQLite Studio after every question to solve it. So for this question, you want to retrieve the names of all tracks along with each track's genre name. So, this is our entity relationship diagram again that tells us how our tables are linked. And I know I want the names of tracks. So, let's think about this. What columns do we want to return? We want to return the name of a track and the name of a genre. So, now since I know this, let's look at what tables we can find these columns in. The name of the tracks is going to be in the tracks table as name. And the name of the genre is going to be in the genres table. Now, what type of join do I need? I'm just going to do an inner join that is going to give me matching records. And what column can I join on? So it looks like here, if I look at the genres versus tracks, it has a direct relationship where you can take the genre ID and genres and link it to the genre ID and tracks. So that is us thinking through the problem. What do you want to return? What columns do you need? Where do those columns exist? They're going to exist across two or more tables. What type of join? And for simplicity's sakes, we're going to use the inner join, and that is also the most common join. And then what column can you actually join on? So now, since we have our question, we're going to go ahead and hop into SQLite Studio. I'm going to view my database. I'm going to collapse all the tables on the left-hand side, and I have the first question here for us. Retrieve the names of all tracks along with each track's genre name. Feel free to pause the video if you want to try it on your own, but we've already agreed our two tables. We need the tracks table, so I'm going to expand it, and we need the genre table. And we want to retrieve the name from each one of these tables. So let's go ahead and do select. I'm going to call tracks T as an alias, and I'm going to do T name. And I'm going to call genres G as an alias, and I'm going to do G name. So is the columns that we want to select. Where do we want to select it from? So I'm doing an inner join, so it does not matter what table I list first. So in this case, from tracks, join on genres. And you can put, and let me spell genres correctly, you can put inner join or regular join. And we're going to give these their aliases here. Okay, those are the tables. Now, what do we want to join on? So we're going to use the keyword on, and we're going to grab those same columns that they both have in common. So tracks has the genre ID and genres have the genre ID. So I want to join all the column T dot genre ID equals G dot genre ID. Okay. And before I even run this join, I want to think about what my output should be. It should be the name of tracks and then the genre of the track. So rock, pop, etc. So now I'm going to highlight this and we're going to run it. And this is what we get. So we get all of the tracks and we get their corresponding names associated with each one of these tracks as well. Okay. And it looks like we have a lot of rock. Okay. You could go all the way to the end if you wanted, and you would see heavy metal, R&B, etc., etc. So that was our first question. Great. So let's hop back into our PowerPoint. So question 2 is going to get progressively harder for us. So for question 2, we want to retrieve the names of all tracks from the album Let There Be Rock. So what columns do we want to return? We only want to return the names of tracks. So we're still in that tracks table. So we only want to return a single column here. But we want to return the names of tracks only if they're in the album Let There Be Rock. What other table would we need to give us album information? That would be the albums table. So if we're looking at tracks and albums, it has a direct relationship. What is the column that you can join on? There looks like there's an album ID in tracks, and there's also an album ID in albums that we can join on. Now, we also need to do a filtering clause where we only want to look at the album Let There Be Rock. And I want you to think about what filtering clause that would be if we want to filter for a specific album title. Okay, so we talked through it. So let's go into our question number 2, and I have it here. It says retrieve the names of all tracks from the album Let There Be Rock. We've already agreed that we need the tracks in the albums tables. So I'm just going to expand that on the left so I can see it. And I only want to retrieve the name of the track. And inside the tracks table, that is in the name column. So I'm going to do my select, and I'm going to keep the T alias, T.name, and that's all I want to return. I want to select this track name from tracks. And we're doing an inner join because we want to match the tracks with their correct album. And we're going to inner join on albums. Notice that I could have said join or inner join. And let's go ahead and add in our alias here. Great. So what column can we join on? So tracks has album ID and albums also has album ID. So we're going to be able to join on that column for both. So I'm going to say T dot album ID equals A dot album ID. Great. But now I only want to return the name of tracks where the album title is equal to Let There Be Rock. So I can filter this by using the where clause. So I'm going to say where a dot title equals Let There Be Rock. Okay. So now let's go ahead and run this. And here I have my name of the tracks for that album. It's only 8. I would suspect that 8 tracks on a single album is good. If I got a result back here and it was 500, there is probably no way I would have a single album have 500 tracks. So I like to see the total rows loaded as like a sanity check. That's how you're able to check yourself. Great. So now we did our inner join and we also were able to filter. So let's go back to our third question here. Now, our third question is a little bit more difficult. We want to find the total number of tracks for each artist. So we want the total number of tracks. So this looks like we may have to count up the amount of tracks that we have for every artist. So artist Jelly has 9 tracks. Artist Drake has 200 tracks. artist Katy Perry has 300 tracks, and so forth and so forth. And I'm giving you a hint here that we need to join three tables. So in this case, I want to get artist information. So here I see that I have artist and artist name. In order to get the track information for my artist, I have to go through an intermediate table here. There is no direct relationship from artist to tracks. So I'm going to go from artists. It looks like I can hit albums. What common column do they have in common? It's the artist ID column. I then can leave albums and hit tracks and join on album ID for tracks and albums. Then I want to count for each artist. So it looks like I need to group by my artists. So keep that in mind. So now let's hop into SQLite Studio so we can practice this. We're joining three tables here. I'm going to collapse what we have. So we know that we need the tracks information, we know we need artists, and we know we need albums. Okay, so here I want to return the total number of tracks for each artist. So I'm going to need some type of identifier of my artist, either an artist ID or the artist name. I'm going to use the artist name. So I'm going to do select AR dot, in my artist table, I have name. And I know that I need some type of count. So I'm going to do count, and I want to count the number of tracks. So I'm just going to put my T, because I'm going to need the tracks table, track ID. And I'm going to put this as total tracks. Great. Sometimes people come back and add the aggregate function at the end. That's perfectly fine as well. All right, so where do we want to get the artist name from first? Let's see. The artist name exists in the artist table, so we're going to do from artists. We're then going to join artists on albums, because albums is the only table that has artist ID. So albums has artist ID, artist has artist ID. Tracks does not have artist ID. There is no way to join the artist table to the tracks table unless you go through the albums table first. So I have artist alias as AR. I'm going to join albums alias as AL, and I'm going to join it on that artist ID column. So AR.artist ID equals AL.artist ID. Okay, so now I can join again, because now I'm at the albums table, and I can join the albums table to the tracks table because they both have the album ID column. So now I'm going to write another join, tracks, that's T, and I'm going to do that on AL.album ID equals T.album ID. Great. So those are my joins. I have three tables there. Now I want to count the number of tracks by artist. So I wanted to say Jelly has 10 tracks, Drake has 200, Katy Perry has 300. So in order to do a count by a group, I have to do group by. So I'm going to group by, you guessed it, the artist name. So AR.name. And now I'm going to go ahead and run this. So let's run this. And this is what I get. So these are my artists, and these are the total tracks. Now, what could I add to this if I wanted to sort the total tracks in descending order, where the highest number is at the top, the artist with the most tracks? You guessed it. I could do a order by total tracks, DESC, for descending. And now we can run this, and we see Iron Maiden has the most tracks, then U2, Led Zeppelin, and so forth and so forth. Okay, So that was our three examples. I know some of you, like I said, was feeling a little iffy. Day 14, day 15. Fear not. This is giving you more practice on joining because you have to join data. Data is going to exist across many, many tables that you need. So you need to know how to bring it together. Please like, comment, and subscribe to this video. I thank you so much for tuning in with Learning with Jelly. I'm going to have my Etsy shop as well as buy me a coffee in the description below. And I'll see you on day 18. Bye bye.